I will admit, as the youth pastor of Hampton Baptist Church, I have read the Harry Potter books. I'm so sorry. I did
See,
do
I'm a
it.
good Christian. I've never watched it.
I am so sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Questions and Almost Answers, the Bible podcast where me, Matt, and Greg do our very best to answer the questions that you submit to us. If you ever have a Bible question or a question about what this means in consideration of Jesus or the Bible, please send it to us. We love talking about it. And today we're going to be talking about, we are going to be talking about demons. Greg, what's the question for today?
It has to do with, I guess, in the media, uh, how like magic is presented, how um, different things like that, like the use of wands and all that stuff, that can be very much a part of our media and storytelling. And the question is that okay? Does it open
Mm,
us up to the demonic side? Like, does it open us up to evil spirits and all that stuff? So, and where a lot of this comes from, if anybody has grown up kind of going to church and being involved in all of that, especially in the past, at least in my age group, it
yeah,
was a very common thing that uh, we were not allowed to watch certain things that had wizards or anything like that in it. And so um, the question becomes, were those rules legitimate? Like,
mm,
or were we just being overly cautious? Where's the
right.
line? Like, are we able to watch these things, or should we stay away from it entirely? And does it really open us up, right?
Right. Yeah, I guess my first initial thought is, I don't know if I was missing out on watching Harry Potter when I was 12. Kind of looking back on it. I will admit, as the youth pastor of Hampton Baptist Church, I have read the Harry Potter books. I'm so sorry. I did do
See, I'm a
it.
good Christian. I've never watched it.
I am so sorry. I understand if at the next business meeting this changes some things. I understand, and I'm willing to take the brunt. And I've seen the movies. Yep, that's right.
Oh, Matt, we didn't know this about you.
I am so sorry. Only in the last maybe year and a half, I went back because as a kid, I was discouraged. I don't know if my parents ever said no, you can't. I don't actually know if I had the ability to. Like, I just don't know if we had, like, we didn't have Netflix back then. We couldn't just go and get any movie like that. But now we do. Now we do have that ability.
So now
Does
you're
it
catching
does it
up.
open does it open us up? I don't know. I guess I can talk maybe just about my own experience. I went kind of with a critical eye at specifically Harry Potter in the last year and a half, and I read it with the idea that, you know what, some Christians would not read this. Why? And I looked for, those kind of darker things. I looked for those things that, okay, what is just the storytelling, and is there anything real? And my personal experience is I found that it was storytelling, and that and some of it you know was dynamic, and actually the use of the rules of this magic system, or of that, created a good fictional story. But that being said, not all people would feel like they could read that, and that's fine. I think it's so important that people, like, some people feel heavily convicted about consuming that or not consuming that, and I want to put it forward that if it's your conviction to not consume, I think that that's beautiful that you would choose not to, if that is your feeling and that's your belief. And so um, I think that Don't
Yeah.
read it or don't watch it if you don't want to.
Right. And there's we have the room as believers. Like I know I have some convictions about certain things that I know is not necessarily biblical. Do you know what I mean? Like I know I could make an argument from scripture a totally different way, but I still have those convictions and I still live by those convictions. And when when you're talking about this stuff, like there's I think the place we shouldn't ever go to, and Christianity has gone to weird extremes like this in the past, and that is where we look down on creativity and look down on the arts. There's something beautiful about being creative. We
Mm,
are in God's image. God is creative. Just
right.
take a look around, right? Like God is very creative, and we we should be creative, and God was very good in storytelling and giving us the story, right?
Mm,
Um, and so it's good for us to be creative. It's good for us to tell stories, and it's a great medium to get information across. And so there's something about stories that have the unexpected in
yeah.
it, right? And like I my thing is I love Lord of the Rings, right? Like
It's so
that's a
good.
incredible, right? But there's wizards in that, right?
Yeah.
And that was written by a Christian,
Yeah.
and written with Christian purposes in the background, like little themes and subplots. And so I think there's room for that kind of creativity, and I think it's probably a good thing for us to do is to nail down like what is this sorcery thing or witchcraft or like what is that even referring to in the Bible when it talks about that?
Mm,
Um, because that's what we need to avoid. Like, so it's the stuff like you're trying to talk to dead people.
mm,
Okay, that's something we need to be avoiding because we're specifically instructed to. Another big part of it, like in the New Testament, when it talks about sorcery and to turn away from it and not do it, um, a big part of that, and the word itself has the idea of using mind-altering drugs.
right.
Um, that is a huge thing, and that the reason why that's that's connected with that is because sorcery in the past. Um, there was this use of mind altering drugs and talking to spiritual beings and um, cultures around the world. They all practice this, right? And that's why all the cultures around the world, you'll see, um, I guess you'd say artwork that looks
Right.
very similar. And it's because when you go on these little trips, you see these shapes. Like
Yeah.
this is a common experience that humans have. And so you can tell that these ancient civilizations were using these drugs by their artwork,
Right.
their creativity, right? And so um, that is especially something we're to stay away from. God doesn't want us to be open to that spiritual side in that way. He
Yeah.
doesn't want us relying on and trusting on that experience or those spiritual beings or what any of that stuff. Like God wants us to rely on Him and to trust in Him. Um,
And
and
there
so
are, yeah, there are shows and there is entertainment that would lean into those things,
yeah.
um, like in the real world, those examples.
Hmm.
Greg and I were chatting about this before, but it's sometimes you'll get stuff on the History Channel
Hmm.
where people are searching to speak to ghosts or spirits in specific
Hmm.
places.
Yeah.
And I think that we do need to be wary about,
And
especially
I
when
think that
things are
would
real.
open somebody up way more than Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, right? I
Yeah.
think that's I was talking to you, Matt, before, but I'll mention it again. Like I was watching a documentary where the a couple people in the documentary were really basically encouraging society to go back to the use of these mind altering drugs, and that's where kind of a key to our society going forward, because that's what people have done in the past. Um, to me, that's way more dangerous,
Yeah.
right? Um, than watching Lord of the Rings and Gandalf saying, "You
You
shall
shall
not
not
pass,"
pass.
right? Like, that. So, so there is a line somewhere, right?
Mm,
There is a line. I don't know exactly where it is, but I would say this: it's it's totally okay to say, "I just want to stay away from the line," right?
yeah, it
That's
is.
okay. And we have the right, as we're raising our kids, to kind of set some boundaries at different ages that's age appropriate and all that stuff. So
That's right.
it's okay, right? But we don't want to go so far that we can't participate in part of what is human, which is storytelling and being creative and
Mm,
um, using our creativity in positive and good ways.
mm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know where the line is. So this is definitely an almost answer because
Greg, I just thought of another avenue for this because we've been chatting about, like specifically your preset, like this is a novel that was created, or this was a show that was created, and a large medium right now is the game or the experience of, you're actually kind of maybe taking part in the story or you're
yeah.
changing the story. And I think about specifically things like, Dungeons and Dragons, in the 80s, there was quite a panic
Mm,
because, in this sort of storytelling game, the players could be in a situation where, they are trying to talk to someone who's dead, or magic in that story is being used in that kind of way. And so I guess
mm.
my question for you is, when it comes to experiencing those things in a player and in a game sense, do you think that's something that we need to be concerned about?
That's a really good question. So I think
I have
I
opinions. I wanted to hear
yeah.
yours
Well,
first.
I'd like to hear yours first because
Yeah.
you're more qualified, right? Because
Mm,
that's outside of my
yeah.
realm a
Yeah.
little bit.
I'll guys, more confession from Matt in today's podcast. I have played Dungeons and Dragons. I have played the tabletop card game Magic the Gathering. I've done it. I have done these
So I've
things.
played The Gathering before, so just to get that
Yeah.
out there, so I can co-confess on that
Yeah,
one.
co-confess. I understand if things are different at the next business meeting, and I will take one for the team if
Yeah.
necessary. Um, this has been my experience, specifically with Dungeons and Dragons. Um, I would say, no, well, the way that the game is played is one person comes up with the story or the campaign, and then kind of guides the players through it, and that story, sometimes it could dip into things that are a little strange. One thing that I've really liked about people that have led these kinds of games for me before is that they actually say, "Hey, friends who I'm playing this game with, I'd like to run this game for you. Is there any kind of subject matter that any of you are particularly adverse to that we shouldn't discuss in this story?" And I think that is such a powerful conversation because what, somebody could be convicted that, oh, you know what, I don't want I don't feel comfortable participating in a game where, what, we're trying to get information from a dead person, or we're trying to do
Mm,
things along those lines, or we don't want to play a campaign where there is where we're working with demons or anything like that.
mm,
So totally understandable, and I think that is a line that, if you feel strong about that, I don't want to participate in that, then you say that and you tell that to your group that you're playing with. um and I think that that the participation in that and going against your convictions, I think that's when it could be kind of sketchy. But it is not taking the mind altering drugs
Yeah.
level. Like if I were to put it on a tier list, I would probably put it lower than the mind altering drugs. But I would say like be strong with your convictions on those things in those games. I probably wouldn't let my young children like having those age appropriate boundaries for some of those things. I think would be very important. Magic the Gathering. I see it just as a game. I can understand
Yeah.
how people could look at the illustrations and look at the images and have convictions about those things. And I think that's fair. And I think that
Yeah.
if you feel convicted, like I said, don't play it if you don't feel
It'd be,
comfortable.
in
Like,
my mind, it's similar to people's convictions about playing cards because of the images that are on the cards and what people have associated with them and stuff like that. But like I've played with playing cards and I never thought about any of that. Like that's just
right.
not. And like I think twice I've played Magic there, and it's same thing. Like all it is a very complex game.
Yeah.
um with playing cards, right? And so I don't know, maybe some people use it in weird ways, but I've never seen it used that way. But
Yeah.
so here's something I just thought of while we were talking. If we go to such an extreme that we never want to associate with anything that has that type of content, you can't read the Bible.
Mm.
Like you can't read the story of Saul and Samuel, and do you know what I mean? Like and in the New Testament there's multiple examples of,
Jesus casting out
yeah,
demons and the
and
demons talking and yeah.
exactly, right. And so what does all of that tell you? Well, that there's something real out there, right?
Yeah.
And that could lure somebody into saying, well, it worked for Saul, right?
Mm.
He talked to Samuel, he got information from beyond the grave. Maybe I should try it, right? I've
Right.
actually had a conversation with somebody that went something like that.
Mm.
Um, so it's there are certain things that we can walk into that definitely are just dangerous, and we're just definitely going in a wrong path. But some of it has to do with how we're thinking, how we're interpreting, what we're where our heart is, and so the important part is for us to have that close walk with God and to listen to God's Spirit. And if playing a card game, for example, could strengthen the kingdom by strengthening relationships and all that stuff, if there is no sin in it, right?
Mm.
Because absolutely, can cards be used for sin?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. But they can also be used in a positive way that's just community building,
Yeah.
um,
And that's what
which
I've
is,
experienced
yeah,
with those things, and I see that, and I like it.
yeah. So I don't know if we answered anything here, but we we definitely can be opened up to negative things if we're in the wrong state of mind and we're going to the wrong media. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, does that mean that every piece of media that has magic or has superheroes with supernatural abilities or whatever, does that mean all of that stuff is evil?
No.
No, it's some of it's just art
Yeah.
and is a way to give us information that's memorable.
Right.
Like um like even the Bible uses that right off with Genesis chapter 3 with the snake in the garden. Like we're told later in scripture that that was the devil, like the adversary, but man, it's memorable when it's a talking snake,
Yeah.
right? And you don't forget it, and it's stuck throughout all history. So there's place for using the dramatic to tell a story,
Right.
and so I don't know.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I think it's important that, when if you have developed any of these convictions and you feel strongly about following them, follow them.
Mm.
And I guess our hope in this episode is to encourage you to follow your convictions, but also to look at a critical eye, with a critical eye at these things, and know that God is the highest power. None of these things even come close to his strength. And let's rely on him as we navigate those things. And if you have any concerns, pray and say, God, I don't know how to feel about this. Then, bring it to him. And I believe that he will help you with that. Thank you so much for watching. We hope that this episode has been kind of fun to listen to and perhaps even a little informational. If you want to see the next one, hey, you know what to do. And if you have any more questions, you know what to do too. Send them our way. But thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt. This is Greg. And this has been Questions and Almost Answers.